Hello, everyone. I'm back.
You're back.
I
It's
am.
not just me.
Welcome to our day early comics review show. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every single Monday after the comics have been delivered, our team, we board the comics, and then Andy and we divide up the ones that we most want to read, the ones we think that most people want to hear about. We read them and we do what we consider our spoiler light review show. So we're going to tell you a lot more than these solicitations tell you about these comics. We'll mention major first appearances, collectability reasons you might want the comics, but more than that, we're going to tell you what the number ones are about so that when you go in your comic store, you know which ones stand out the most to you and which ones might not be for you.
Hmm.
So, pretty solid week this week.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go over, I think, about 13 of them. You're going to do about the same. So, probably we're going to go through about 26 comics, all the variants, all the incentives. So, without further ado, Andy, what are we starting with today?
Well, we're starting with, of course, for me, Star Wars The High Republic #1. This is the new #1 from Star Wars The High Republic.
Phase 2 begins.
Phase 2. So, if you weren't aware, Star Wars The High Republic is going to be broken up into 3 phases that we know of. So, Phase 1 took place, I believe, 200 years before the movies. This one goes back an additional 150 to 200 years, depending on the story. But this one, I believe, is set 150 years before that. So we are well before the movies in the era of the High Republic. And it's an interesting way to structure a story where you get somewhat in the past, then you get way far in the past.
Yeah, they're going back even
You keep
further,
going
right?
back, but you're starting to see kind of how things got to where they were. And in this one, we're introduced to a whole new cast of characters, of course, because there's not going to be too many characters that are old enough to still be around, other than Yoda, but he's not in this. Um, this is really cool because there is the Jedi Order is around still, and they have sent a Jedi. His name is
Lots of first appearances
yeah,
in this.
uh, Vilder to the what they call the Pilgrim Moon of Jeddah. If you remember in Rogue One, Jeddah is a planet that got destroyed by the Death Star, but they had talked about that this used to be kind of a pilgrimage place for people who use the Force, and that's what's really interesting about this is uh, it is not just a place for Jedi. There's a bunch of religions that use the Force, and they all come to this one place. And of course, they don't all get along, and so it's kind of made some strife here. And as he arrives, he's about to go on his mission when he is stopped by a Padawan who says, "Hey, before you do that, a lot of very powerful Force relics are being stolen from various temples and stuff around the planet, and we need your help to track down where they're going and who has done them." So it's a cool. Starts off with a mystery. Starts off with a bunch of new characters, and does really set the scene of like what's going on this far back in the Star Wars universe. It's really cool. If you like the previous High Republic book, you'll really like this one. Same feel, but new characters and kind of new twists on things. There is also a backup story in this that follows another Jedi, one that's been. I feel it's going to be kind of one of our main characters through the different novels and all of that. And there is a character introduced named Sunshine, who there's only been one High Republic book that has come out in this phase, and he's in that book, and now he's in this one. So this is a first appearance, at least, of one character who has so far appeared in multiple media, which I think is always interesting. So yeah, there's the first appearance of Vildar, the Padawan Maddie, this character called Sunshine. Some places are reporting up to 12 first appearances in this. It's pretty much everyone you see is a first appearance. So if you're a collector of first appearances, you hit the jackpot with this one. Very cool. Really starting off something very fun. A really cool mystery. So there is some variants for this as well.
I suspected there would be.
Yes, yes. We've got the Macone variant with our main Jedi there. This was an all Star Wars show. I could go on for a very long time about different stuff in this, but I'm keeping it to a minimum for those who don't necessarily follow all of this. We have the Phil Noto variant. That's Vilder and Maddie the Padawan.
This is a big Star Wars week because there's 2 more Star Wars books you'll be going over later.
Yes, another really big one here in a minute. And we also have the 1 in 50 Dursema variant that we're selling to our customers for $75.
Okay, so the first book I'll be going over is Wakanda #1. So this is not an ongoing series. This is a mini series. It's going to be 5 issues. Each one is going to focus on a different Wakandan figure. With this one, of course, as you can see, focusing on Shuri. Now, Shuri has been popular since her sort of inception, but lately she has been really, really popular because there has been shots all over the internet of a female character wearing the Black Panther suit in the movie. I suspected this ages ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they were going to have to do something. So now everybody's running to get their Shuri stuff. So Wakanda #1 is 2 different stories, and I think all of them will be. The first one follows Shuri. The second story is a history of Wakanda and all the people who have ever been Black Panther.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'll tell you more about that in a minute. So the first story in it, which is by Stephanie Williams with art by Paco Medina, it has it where Shuri is trying to investigate what she has seen that Tosin can do. So Tosin is not in this story. There's like images of him.
Yeah.
He's not in this story, but she's seen that he has vibranium worked into his skin. And she's like desperately trying to figure this out. She's like, this is awesome. I need to know how to do this. The other thing that happens is Rhino decides to visit Wakanda. You'll have to see the clever way he's able to make it through their borders. And why he's there, it's a little bit of a mystery. You'll have to read why. But he, of course, causes chaos. And it's up to Shuri because Black Panther's not there. If you've been reading the Black Panther series, he is no longer welcome in Wakanda for things that they discovered, secrets he kept from them. I mean, they weren't really exactly bad, but they really made people mad.
Yeah.
He was definitely maybe overreaching his power. But yeah, T'Challa is not allowed in Wakanda right now. So Shuri is the sole protector, and she goes one-on-one up against Rhino in this issue, which is really cool. The second story is the history of Wakanda. Everyone who's ever been a Black Panther. It starts back in 1 million BC with Moby. I'm sorry, Mosi is the character's name. Mosi was the first Black Panther, and this is a character that's already been introduced by Jason Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
Avengers 1 million BC. But this is a serious history, and it's so serious that after you get through the story part, because it's being told sort of as a story, there is annotations at the end of it, and I mean a lot of annotations. They're taking this very seriously. They really want to clarify, here is the line of succession of Black Panthers. So this is Wakanda issue #1 of 5. I really enjoyed the issue. Your first part was sort of great action part with Shuri getting the show off. Second part sort of a history part. We have some really good variants. Here is the Art Germ variant.
Pretty jacked Killmonger.
Yep, Killmonger, who unfortunately is not in this. I'm a big Killmonger
He's got to
fan.
be coming.
Here is the Riley Shades variant. So Fornes isn't the only one doing the Shades variants now. Riley is as well. And then we have the NetEase game variant.
So you definitely answered a big question I had for this, which was, is this like continuity? Is it set at just some random time? But it sounds like if you're reading Black Panther, this is a good like companion
at
book
least
to
the
that.
Shuri story, which they could jump around with the other ones, but the Shuri story, I mean, this is current time. There's also this 1 in 25 Klein variant we're selling to our customers for $25.
That's a strong variant. Okay, next up for me is issue 2 of Batman versus Robin. So Mark Waid has just been doing an awesome job at DC, which sounds like I could have said that 15 years ago, still be true, but no. Mark Waid he was writing, and he currently still is writing, Batman and Superman with World's Finest, and this Batman versus Robin series, which we learned this week from New York Comic Con and everything. This is all still leading to even bigger things with these characters and stuff with. Lazarus Planet, which is a big event that's going to be coming, that's going to be spinning out of this. and some other books going on. But all that to say, you should be reading this book because it is fantastic. So something has happened with Damien because of the demon Neza or Neza. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but character that was back during the World's Finest book has been unleashed and is now kind of siphoning off the power and the magic from different DC magic artifacts. That includes like Doctor Fate's helmet, a bunch of really weird stuff, and also he's controlling a lot of the magic users, but along with those, Damien as well. So this kind of pits Batman and Damien against each other. And in the last issue, they followed the kind of dead body of Zatanna, who has told them where to go, and that leads us into this issue where Batman and Alfred, if you didn't read it, spoiler, Alfred is in this, um, go to the House of Secrets to try to figure out what's going on. And if you're a Sandman fan, you get a lot of Vertigo Sandman cameos and characters in this, including Cain and Abel, as well as the is it the Weird Sisters?
Yeah.
The three witches.
Mhm.
They're in here, chock full of stuff, and it's always great to see Batman, who is such a practical human character, dealing with magic people, and he's got his own way of dealing with them. But this continues to build on this very big story that has a pretty big twist ending. I'm not going to give it away, but some things that you may have kind of taken for granted during the series maybe turned on their heads. So, really great issue of Batman versus Robin. Plus, you do get the origin of the Lazarus Pits. So, when were they created? Why were they created? All of that is revealed in this issue. We've got some variants for this as well. We've got the Francis Manipul variant. We've got the Greg Capullo variant. All you got to do is tell these artists just draw Batman versus Robin, and they're happy. And we have this one's really fun. This is a 1 in 25 Sarmento variant that we're selling to our customer for $20. It doesn't matter if Batman's the Batmobile. Robin's just going to take a big old punch at the glass. So, very cool.
Okay, just in time for Halloween, DC is doing their Halloween anthology. This one is called DC's Terrors Through Time. It has 8 different stories by 8 different creative teams. I'm going to go through them as quickly as I can. I did read all of these. I started last night, but I'll just tell you the blurb I have for each of them. So, well, first I should say this is 80 pages, so that's why it's $9.99. So little pricey, but you get a lot of bang for your buck there. 8 stories, 80 pages. The first story, you got the Phantom Stranger protecting people from the undead and other horrors throughout the ages. It goes through different time periods of ways he's tried to protect humanity. The second story, you have the Super Sons. They go trick-or-treating, and their outfits, they swap outfits. So Damien goes as Superboy, and, vice versa.
Yeah.
Which is great. And they do confuse Superman.
That's
so
funny.
Yeah, really fun story. That's the first of 2 that Damien is in this. The third story, you have the Gotham City Sirens. They're on a trip in Hawaii in the 1990s, and they go up against this ancient force named Puo. He's sort of like an island tropical force. So it's a first appearance for him, but I don't think it's like a major one. Still a nice little story for them. Then you have Swamp Thing in an irradiated post-apocalyptic Washington in the 22nd century. He's trying to save people from a bunch of radiation monsters. So this is set
like
in the
Fallout.
future. Yeah, these stories, throughout time.
Yeah.
Then you have the Justice Society of America in the 1940s. They're going up against, it's the 40s, you can guess, Nazis in an Egyptian museum. The Nazis are there to do no good with Egyptian powers. Then you have 2 new Green Lanterns in the 25th century. So if you collect all the Green Lantern first, I don't know if these characters will ever be back. One of them doesn't fare too well. But 2 new Green Lanterns in the 25th century as they fight something very strange in a very faraway galaxy. Then you have a story with Etrigan the Demon. It's a 16th century story as he protects a family from a very evil, different kind of demon who wants to eat them. And then you have, in the last story, it's the other one with Damien. This one I liked a lot. He teams up with Deadman when something otherworldly attacks Wayne Manor when Damien is home alone. They do make a reference to it in
Good.
that. So that's a little bite of what each of these 8 stories are about. And here is the variant. This is the beach variant, made to look like a good old VHS horror cassette.
Kind of looks like Beetlejuice or something like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay, next up for me is a new #1 from Image. This is Hitomi. So this is really cool. The only things I've read that are similar to this would be something like Usagi Ojimbo or Peach Momoko's Demon Saga, with
Demon Wars.
yeah, all of those. So this is set in like feudal Japan with a character named Hitomi. We kind of pick up. We don't really know how long she's been on this journey, but she's still a fairly young girl. But at one point, a samurai kills her parents, her family, and now she's kind of on your classic revenge quest. The person she's hunting said that he has the skin the color of a beetroot. That's kind of how she asks all of the different towns she comes to, and some haven't heard of him. Some of them are like, he was here, but he's been long gone, that kind of thing. But eventually, she is sent to speak with this monk, who it's a little hazy what his intentions are. But after some discussion, everything, he decides that maybe her revenge quest is worth his training to help her with it. So there's that part, which is a pretty straightforward, classic revenge tale. But there is another side where you do see this samurai that apparently killed her family. And I won't tell you too much about it, but maybe you'll see things from his point of view as well. Is he good? Is he bad? There's just more to it than that. So I think that it's a really interesting setup where it's a story I feel like I've read before with the revenge, but sprinkled in is some stuff that kind of makes you question both sides. So that is Hitomi. If you're a fan of that kind of era of storytelling, the revenge tale, you'll definitely like this one. And of course, we have a Peach Momoko variant.
Okay, so I read The Approach, a new survival horror miniseries by Jeremy Hahn with art by Jason Hurley. And right on the cover, you see an airplane in a lot of snow, and that is a lot of the setup. So I said this is survival horror. I'm a big fan of survival horror. I watch anything that's pretty much survival horror for the most part. As far as movies, so
Yeah.
comics, I'm drawn to those two. This is a mini series. I couldn't find out how many issues. My bet is it's probably gonna be 5 issues.
Yeah.
So this takes place at an airport. This is sort of modern day. It's hard to figure out exactly what time. Whenever I read things, I'm always like, are there cell phones?
Yeah. What's the context clues?
Because this takes place at an airport, they're all on walkie-talkies, so I can't really figure it out. I think it's modern day, but this airport has been hit by the worst snowstorm it has ever seen, and it came on really quick. So you get to watch as one particular guy who works the airport. He's sort of our focal character. He works with security, works with other people. They're preparing for this because planes are still trying to land. There are people in the airport who can't get out anymore. They're worried about the cold. They're worried about the food supply. They've been through this before, but they know this is going to be worse than ever. So meanwhile, a plane comes out of nowhere, crash lands. Turns out the plane, from the registration on it, it looks like that plane disappeared 20 some years ago.
Mm.
And the one person they pull out of the wreckage, who is the sole survivor, is pretty messed up. Looks like they might be a monster.
Oh, gosh.
So yeah, it's
That's
not just
where I thought you were going.
it's
with
not
that.
just surviving the elements. It's also going to be a monster story. So this issue, you'll meet the characters, the setting. A lot of it is the setting and the weather more than it is like, oh, they're right off the bat fighting this monster. It's setting an atmosphere that they're going to follow up with the next issue. So if that sounds like the sort of plot for you, you might want to check out issue number 1 of The Approach. We have a Francavilla variant. I mean, when you're going to do some monster thing, just go ahead and get Francavilla to do a variant for you. And there's our main focal character there. And then there is a 1 per store that is colored slightly different for $10 is what we're selling it for right now to our customers.
I feel like the writer for that has to have been in a situation very similar over there, maybe snowed in at an airport and kind of thought of the story.
The last movie I saw that took place in an airport, I can't remember the title, but I saw an interview with the person who wrote it, and he was like, "Yeah, I was at an airport trying to think of a story." And it's like, a lot of these writers, they travel a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There's also this 1 in 25 Hutchison Cates variant we're selling for $20. And, very much a movie poster variant, as we get a lot of these days.
Okay, next up, I'm going to be talking about one of, I think, the most interesting books, and it's not just because it's Star Wars and I love Star Wars, but for many reasons. This is Star Wars Visions. So if you're not familiar, Star Wars Visions is actually on Disney Plus, is a mini episode series with different anime creators doing their take on Star Wars. And this one is about the first story called Ronin, and it mixes the feudal Japan with the Star Wars universe. So this is not set in the main Star Wars universe. This is kind of this very cool amalgamation of the two. They've still got droids and everything, but at one point they talk about drinking sake, which of course does not exist in the Star Wars universe. But this is actually a prequel to that first episode about the Ronin. In that one, he goes up against a Sith in this town. He's, of course, a Ronin, so he travels and gets into different sorts of adventures. In this one, it starts off with he runs into a kind of gang of outlaws who want his droid, and you'll see how he gets around them. But the whole time, he's being watched from kind of a mountain pass by this mysterious character. You can see him on the cover up at the top, who kind of seems like a blind, maybe former warrior, and you'll have to see how it plays out. But of course, they do come into contact, and that maybe they have more in common than they think. You do hear a little bit more about the Ronin's backstory, a little bit more about this character's backstory, who you do not get a name for, but there's a lot to this. So if you're a big Star Wars fan, I feel like you will get more out of this by kind of dissecting some things that are said, some things that are seen, and kind of piecing the puzzle pieces together, which, if you do, you may discover that this has a pretty big, it is in this special universe, but this whole idea that's in it would be very big in the main Star Wars universe, involving some characters. So if that's not vague enough, just want to let you know that there's some really interesting kind of meat to this story that you slowly uncover as you go through it. Now, the other thing I want to mention is the art. So the interior art looks like this. This is by the writer as well, Okazaki, and it's black and white. It is very manga feeling at some points. It is very much like an action manga, almost like a Berserk or something like that, and with spot colors here and there. So sometimes it'll be the droid's eyes, or different little lights, places, blaster fire, and lightsabers. So there's some very beautiful, you turn the page, you get 2-page spread that is just incredible to look at. But I feel like this is going to be a book people are going to be talking about.
There'll be an article. Like, Andy told me his theory on who this unnamed Ronin is.
Yeah.
And his theory is strong, and there'll be articles on it.
There's so many clues to this character's identity in it that it has to be what I think it is. So that's really cool. Also, just the fact that this is the first appearance of the Ronin character from the Vision series. I think there's supposed to be a follow-up Visions season on Disney Plus. I think this is a popular enough character from that this will probably have a part two in that. And this is just a one shot, but I have a feeling if this is successful, we'll be seeing a lot more of this kind of one shot story set in these visions universes. So, all that to say, this is a great book. Probably art wise, definitely my favorite this week. And story, as a Star Wars fan, just had so much fun uh, picking this one apart and seeing all the things there. So that is our main cover by our interior artist and writer. We also have this Chris Bachalo variant, which I think is really interesting that got Bachalo to do one. Of course, worked on Doctor Strange and X-Men and so many different things. And I did also want to mention we have Star Wars number 28 this week. Again, continuing with great covers for this Star Wars series. This one's really cool. As you can see, Luke kind of goes undercover into the Empire to find out some information. If he discovers something pretty big that is related to the movies. But also, if you're a fan of Rebels, you actually get an interaction between Luke and Hera. So if you ever wonder if those two meet, they talk in this. And something is brought up. Luke is compared to another character that I think a lot of people will have warm feelings about. We've got some variants for that as well. We've got the John Tyler Christopher variant, the action figure variant. And we have what they're starting with these new ones. This is the Star Wars 45th anniversary cover by Greg Land. He's been doing a lot of these all set for the 45th anniversary of A New Hope. So, really cool, but definitely pick up Visions this week. I think that's going to be one of the big ones.
All right, so I read Namor the Submariner, Conquered Shores, #1. This is a new 5-issue miniseries. This is set in the future of the Marvel Universe. Namor in it is much, much older. In fact, some sites are saying, in a way, it's first appearance of Old Man Namor. So I don't know how well that'll
when
stick.
you get the title Old Man Blank.
You know, because he's older and it's sort of post-apocalyptic.
Okay.
So they do that. But this is different than the other old man stuff because that's all like an old post-apocalyptic dusty world. This is about as different as it can get because this follows, there apparently was a big Kree war with Earth and the Kree. And the Kree poisoned the air and they messed up, just the land and air. And so eventually all that was left was the oceans. Like the oceans have like overtaken most of the land. Almost everybody on land is dead. The heroes all left to go fight in the Kree War. Pretty much none ever came back. And so Namor and Atlantis and the oceans, they just kind of rule the earth now. And a few land dwellers have had to, at the very least, accept help from them, even though they don't like them. And that's kind of what this is about is, Namor sort of has what he always wanted. Him and his people are ruling, but is he happy with this? The answer is no, because the world is kind of a terrible place and because there is still a lot of hatred between the people on land who now feel they're a little bit subjugated because they have to get this help. There's, things don't grow anymore. Are there any heroes in this book? Yes, there are some heroes left. You will see appearances from Captain America, Luke Cage. There might even be a single member of the Fantastic Four left, but that appears to be it. And they all have their hands full just dealing with this ongoing crisis.
Do they all have scuba suits?
No, they do not. But it probably would be useful considering how little land that is livable is left. So that is what is set up in this. This is written by Christopher Cantwell with art by Pasquale Ferry. So that is generally the premise to Namor, the Submariner Conquered Shores 5-issue miniseries. We have a few variants. Here is the Larraz variant. And here is the Clark variant. What I'm glad is they're telling a new story with Namor because, he's going to be in the Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
So Marvel wants to get him out there. Instead of another, hey, let's reintroduce you to this guy, who's, one of our two oldest characters. Yeah. Instead, they're like, let's let Cantwell tell a new story. So yeah. I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how not new reader friendly, but I think a lot of people, because Namor hasn't had that many series.
Right.
If you've never read a Namor book, do you think you can?
You can, because they have the paragraphs at the beginning that tell you who he is, how he's been friend and foe.
Yeah.
And because it's so forward in the future, we're all starting a little new.
Yeah.
You know, all you got to know is that sometimes he's a good guy and sometimes he's a bad guy. So.
Well, cool. So next up, I have. Let me get the whole title: Dark Crisis: Worlds Without a Justice League. Green Arrow, also featuring Green Arrow and Black Canary. Which I think it's funny. It's Green Arrow, also featuring Green Arrow. But this is our next one in. I believe there's one more after this, which is the Batman one. But this one, of course, follows Green Arrow in the main story. And like all these, they are in kind of their ideal world. Less like a perfect utopia world, but kind of what is a like superhero world geared towards them and their abilities. And wouldn't you know it, Green Arrow is in a Robin Hood like world. So you've got his villain Merlin, which is kind of like the sheriff of Nottingham, and Green Arrow is your Robin Hood stand-in, and his merry men are all of the other Arrow characters. So you have like Speedy, Connor Hawk, all of those are standing in as those characters as we see them try to steal from the rich, give to the poor, all of that. But that's just the beginning, because at one point Green Arrow is, I believe, chasing Merlin into the woods when he comes out on the other side and he's in a city, like a metropolis. I'm guessing it's Star City. And that is where he meets the mysterious Black Canary character. So this is interesting because this is the first time two of the worlds have kind of overlapped, where one character has gone from one to the other one. And there is like a mysterious character that's also lurking in the city that does get revealed at the end. And then, like it says on the cover, there is a Green Arrow, Black Canary backup story where I feel like it might be a little bit of a prequel to this issue, where you find out why they could cross from one world into the other. So, really interesting one, and also, you know, you don't have a Green Arrow ongoing series right now. This is written by Stephanie Phillips. The art's by Clayton Henry. It's really fun to read a Green Arrow book right now. Great interaction. You've got all the romance between Green Arrow and Black Canary. So that is another tie-in to Dark Crisis this week, and we just have the one cover for that.
All right, so I read Batman Incorporated #1. This is a new ongoing series following the team Batman Incorporated, which was formed in Batman Annual 2022, where Batman puts Ghostmaker in charge. You also have the new Wolf character you see there on the side, whose first appearance was in that annual as well, who joins Batman Incorporated. I really enjoyed that annual a lot. I thought this team was very interesting. It's the same creative team who did that issue, which was Ed Bryson doing the writing and John Timms doing the art. I think they make a great team for doing a team book.
Yeah.
Which is, you have to juggle a lot of characters and a lot of plot lines and a lot of personalities. You want your characters to stand out. And I think Bryson's doing a really good job with this first issue. By the way, there are 2 first appearances in this book. The first one is a character named Black Mist, who is sort of a ninja-looking character, although she her hometown where she superheroes is in Dublin. Why there's a ninja in Dublin, Ireland, I don't know, but you know, whatever.
That's pretty cool.
She has a very cool character design, and it's great because one of the characters of Batman Inc. is like begging her to join the team. You know, it's like, we need another female on this team. It's just like really a boys' club. And even though Black Mist doesn't necessarily join the team this issue, they're still putting a lot of pressure on her. So she may, so first appearance of Black Mist, she may join the team. Doesn't happen this issue. Then there is another character named Sky Spider, who also is a sort of a ninja character. Think of she kind of resembles a female Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. That's how I would describe Sky Spider. So first appearance of Sky Spider, who is an old enemy of Ghostmakers. who is out of Shanghai, Japan. Or Shanghai, China.
Ah, new town has
Yeah, I
arisen.
know.
Yeah.
I consider myself a fan of geography, and I get those crisscrossed. Anyway, that's what's cool about Batman Incorporated. The team. So the plot is somebody has been killing sort of old mentors of Ghostmaker and Batman. They trained together a lot. So, it's like the guy who taught them the best way to fight with knives. Well, someone kills them. The person who teaches them how do you make smoke bombs. Well, someone's going to kill them too. So Ghostmaker finds this out. Batman is busy, and also Ghostmaker doesn't really go to Batman for things. He sees himself as better than Batman. Him and the team divide up. They go across the country to try to find the remaining mentors and try to protect them, try to figure out who is doing this. So that's what the plot is. Past that, I mean, there's only so much you can really plug in one individual comic. I would just say, as I said earlier, I think Ed Bryson is really good at juggling a lot of characters. If you want a good team book, this is a good team book. I thought the art by John Timms is also handled really nicely, and you got the 2 new first appearances I spoke about. So as far as variants, here is the Molina variant. A lot of the characters there. And then there's a 1 in 25 Derek Chew variant we are selling for $20.
And next up for me, I've got Daredevil number 4. So I've enjoyed every issue of this so far. Chip Zdarsky is just such a good writer. And it's amazing. You've got Chip Zdarsky writing Daredevil and Batman, and they feel distinct. Like, how does that happen? But this is a really interesting issue because we've kind of known that it's going to lead up to Daredevil leading the fist against Punisher leading the hand. That's just, I feel like that has to be the cover of it. It's just like this. So in this, he's kind of figured out this is what I've got to do as they kind of discuss Punisher. And Daredevil gets his new kind of training facility or kind of HQ in a really cool way. You'll have to see where it is and who is there already. But he's starting to build up his team of notable characters who are going to be fighting by his side. Some characters we haven't seen in a long time, some very known to the Daredevil book. But one of them there is Stick. And Stick tells Daredevil about a prophecy about how someone is going to rule this group. And there's such a big spoiler at the big end of this. I can't give away any of the hints on the way up to it, but we'll say that Daredevil and Elektra both have to go through a trial for this kind of prophecy thing to happen. It's a very cool issue. I don't know if people knew what was going to happen in this issue or not. I hadn't heard any rumblings about it. Yeah, we didn't know about it. So I feel like that's also, we talk about what's going to be an article the next day. There's going to be an article about this issue.
Yep.
And I like that it was like, Jason knows what it is. It's something that could easily be touted and used as a banner on a book or something like that, and it's not. So very cool issue of Daredevil.
For sure.
Yeah, a big surprise, and yeah, let's see what happens after this issue with it. We've also got some variants. No, don't be confused. This is not a new Luke Cage book. This is the J. Scott Campbell variant for Daredevil with Luke Cage. I feel like this was actually meant to go on a canceled Luke Cage series that they were going to do, and they thought, we've paid Campbell, we're going to use it. And who's friends with Daredevil? Luke Cage. Also, we've got this Chichetto Miracle Man cover. And we have this Sequeira cover as well with Daredevil and a bunch of his pals.
Okay, so I read Venom issue number 11. This is written by Ram V, so he's been doing part of the writing when Al Ewing's been doing the other part. Al Ewing's been doing the stuff with Eddie Brock off in that weird land with Meridius. So with Ram V doing this, you're back with Dylan somewhat. So first off, I'm going to tell you, see this character on the cover? This is the first cover appearance and first full appearance of a new character called Sleeper Agent. So it kind of had a cameo, though. This is a character. Flash Thompson had a war buddy named Hank, who they introduced in Extreme Carnage Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
And Sleeper, the symbiote
Yeah.
that looks like a cat, had secretly been in Hank to defeat Carnage and to save his life. Well, anyway, in this issue, it's revealed that Sleeper left some of himself in Hank in case he ever needed Hank again to help protect Dylan. Thus, he's a sleeper agent. And he comes back this issue with, I think, a very cool character design. And he doesn't get to do a lot in this one. This is more of like a lot of things are going on in this issue. He's back. Next issue, he's going to do this stuff. But still, pretty cool character. Um, so past that, we're back with Dylan, and this follows the big fight at the biker bar. Dylan has been gravely injured, and he is incarcerated. So he's in hospital, but he's brain dead. His brain is not there. Now, where might it be? It's with the Venom symbiote who's on the run. So what's cool is this may be one of the first times ever that a Venom symbiote is a host, in a sense, to something else, and that's Dylan's mind and spirit. Is kind of,
Yeah.
its symbiote in a way. They kind of address that in here. So it's not my own theory. They actually do sort of address that. So what's going on with Dylan inside of the Venom symbiote? He gets the chance, and I'm not saying they resolve this issue. He gets the chance to learn about some secrets about himself and his own powers. But to do that, he's going to have to both defeat the Venom symbiote, which is sort of Eddie Brock. You'll have to read to see more on that. And he's also going to have to do something for it, like something that hasn't been revealed yet. So, I mean, they're leading up to a lot of revelations with Dylan that I've been waiting for, because he is a different sort of thing altogether than what Eddie is for Dylan. And I've been waiting for them to get to explanations on what he can do, the limitations of his power, and I think that's where this is all going. So, pretty good, pretty critical issue of Venom right here. And, with the first of a new kind of cool character. And then here is the Raposa variant.
That's really creepy.
Yep, for that issue.
Next up, I've got Superman, Son of Kal-El, number 16. So as you can see on the cover, this is the Kal-El Returns Part 2. So Superman is back from Warworld, and we're actually catching up with John Kent because this big Bendix story just ended. So what is going on with him? We're getting back into Jonathan trying to be the Superman that he sees that his father was. So you see him doing a lot of different kind of good deeds as Superman, going and visiting people, talking with Lois, just a bunch of really cool stuff. But he does have a run-in with Lex Luthor, which is always fun because it's fun to see kind of what is Dad's biggest enemy kind of think of him. And there's a little bit of the storyline that's tied in with the previous Action Comics, where Lex Luthor is doing something with Metallo. We don't know what it is, but he's got a big plan. We know that's going to shake out in Action Comics 1050. But this also has the reunion of Jonathan and his dad, which is very heartwarming. You'll see kind of how they set it up at the beginning and then pay it off at the end. It's a very sweet moment. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen. Now, it was announced that this series is ending in 2 issues with issue 18, but Jonathan is going to go off and have a mini-series coming up by Tom Taylor's writing it. And it looks like Jonathan's going to be getting some kind of new powers that look like back when Superman had the red and blue version of it. Looks like Jonathan's going to be getting a blue lightning power thing. So all that to say, there's a lot coming up with that character. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 6-issue miniseries. It's a pretty lengthy one for a miniseries.
Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff coming up with the Superman characters. And there is a variant, but we do not have it. It is already in someone's pull box.
Okay, so I read Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries #1. So yeah, there was already the 12-issue series
Yep.
that wrapped up, and it was so popular they started another one. So this is issue #1 of 12 of a new maxi series. What's great is they just launch right into this where Batman he's friends with the Scooby-Doo family. Like they're all hanging out right off the bat. They're doing adventures together. There's no explanation. They don't like. I remember in the first one he was hiring them to figure something
Yeah.
out. This one, no, they're all just hanging out and together. And the main villain for this one is Ra's al Ghul, and they're trying to find him by going across the world and internationally, sort of like trying. They have to defeat a lot of underbosses together and try to figure out through what they say where Ra's al Ghul might be. There's a lot of other bat adjacent characters that get drawn into this, like Man of Bats is in
Uh-huh.
this, if you remember him, and Knight and Squire are in this, a few other ones too. But I would say my favorite part of this one is that Daphne has a sword fight with Ra's al Ghul. Like she challenges him to a sword fight. They have a sword fight. You just don't see that coming in like a Scooby Doo comic.
Yeah.
So, which is pretty cool. What's neat about these are one and done issues.
Mhm.
So this is not going to be a continued story. It all gets wrapped up at the end. That's how the last series was. So it's good to just sit down, read one comic. It has that classic feel. I grew up watching the reruns of Scooby Doo where he hung out with Batman. And it feels very much like that, but updated, more modern.
Mhm.
So, and without the 1970s music.
You can play
So,
that in your head as you're watching it.
yeah, so that is what happened in the first issue of Batman Scooby Doo Mysteries. If you were on the old series, you might want to tell your store to put you on the new series because if they have a system like ours, it doesn't automatically
Yeah.
switch you over. And I don't believe there was any variant for
I
this.
don't think there is.
Just the one cover.
No, no Delato or Matina dark variant. I want to see that. Okay, next up we have a new Punisher War Journal issue. So all these are one-shots that tie in with the main Punisher series going on, where he is the leader or the... I still don't know what he's called. I know they've said it, but he's not the leader of the Hand, but he's like the enforcer of the Hand. He's high-ranking in the Hand, and he's definitely their go-to man to get some stuff done.
He's the hangnail.
Just keep the hand puns going. So this is what was it? It's subtitled Brother, and in this we have a lot of really rich people have put a hit out on Punisher. So there's a very high dollar. You kind of see that through different computer systems and everything that there's a hit put out on Punisher, and it is everyone going after him. All the way from like trained assassins and everything, all the way to kids. Punisher has to go up against some kids, and definitely doesn't want to hurt them. So he tries his best to kind of get around that. But he ends up going up against one of his oldest foes, Jigsaw, who we have not seen. I don't think we've seen Jigsaw in a little while, at least not in this run so far. And you'll have to see what happens with that. But someone does not walk away very well on this. So I don't know a better way to say that. But this is a pretty cool issue. So if you're reading the main Punisher series and you want a little bit more of that and a little bit more action, I feel like the main Punisher series has a lot of drama with it, with his wife and his kids and all of that. This is kind of Punisher outdoing missions for the Hand. So that is our A cover.
Why is it called Brother?
I don't know.
Wow, that's the whole thing I was waiting for. I haven't read this, so.
And then Hulk Hogan comes in and says, "Punisher, brother,"
with his handlebar mustache, tearing his shirt off.
Yeah, but it's got the Punisher logo on it. We also have this Super Log variant. And we have this Simmons variant. I'm sure they mentioned somewhere in there brother and what it relates to him. I must have just missed it. I don't know if he said like Jigsaw called him a brother or something, but it slipped past me.
So I read Black Panther #10. So this is the first cover appearance and first full appearance of the Buffalo Soldier. that you can see here. So last issue, I was telling everybody how awesome it was. This issue is sort of the finale of just this little 2-issue miniseries about this space character called the Colonialist, who shows up and through smiles and niceties tells the Avengers, "Hey, I just want to live here and take some of your land. It's no big deal." So the Avengers and Black Panther, they kind of split forces to try to defeat him, and Black Panther was trying to do something when this head enforcer of his, the Buffalo Soldier, shows up, who has a weapon. In fact, it seems that many of the Colonials people have weapons that can destroy vibranium.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is terrible. It was terrible for Captain America's shield last issue, and this issue, Black Panther, it is bad on him. What's cool about this issue is the Colonialist has his sort of theory that he is saving people from the boundaries of freedom. You know, when you have free thought, oh, that's such a burden. You know, if you're just told what to do, you don't have to worry about thinking for yourself. Anyhow, so that's his whole thing. Black Panther tries to talk Buffalo Soldier out of this. He tries to tell him some about our own history, the history of we actually had Buffalo Soldiers in our world, and he goes through the history of who they are. Because colonials, he forms these forms based on things he sees in the world, but he doesn't really know their history. So it's a little bit of a history lesson, but it's great because what's better than just a fist fight is a fist fight where people actually have a good point. And Black Panther, he delivers a very good point to try to change Buffalo Soldier's mind. I'm not going to say it goes real well for him though. Let's just say he has to put his life on the line for his ideals in this issue. I thought it was a really good wrap up to this 2-issue series, written real well. So once again, I recommend it. Very cool.
The last issue too sold out immediately. Everybody
Yeah.
was going for that new
I
character.
don't know if Buffalo Soldier is really going to be back or not, but he's a very cool character. And what Black Panther, their discussion in battle is very good. So this has some variants. It has the Basil Dua variant, and it has a Clark Miracle Man variant. Neither of them showed up. I suspect they are delayed.
Yeah.
Because they were not on our invoice. And lately, Marvel's been shipping certain variants a week late. So if you go to your store and they don't have those variants, they're probably just a week delayed on the distributor level, not on our level.
Yeah, yeah.
So don't blame your store. So just wanted to put that out there.
My next one is Ghost Rider number 7. So every issue of this has been so much fun. This is kind of one of the ones like every time it's, I'm up to read it, I'm like, okay, new Ghost Rider. And then by the end of it, I'm like, look at what was in this. This is crazy. There's the Wacky Races issue that I just love. I mean, that one was just so cool. This one is big because, for one, are two storylines that have been kind of running parallel. Ghost Rider has escaped this town where he kind of lost a lot of his memories. He left. He had this like parasite on his head, and then there is the other story with what was her name, Agent Talia Warroad, and her like special agents that were trying to track down Ghost Rider. Those two merge. Those two stories merge, and you have to see what happens and why they were going after Ghost Rider. Now, the other big thing in this is the which I love when they brought Wolverine into this series a couple of issues ago. He was actually the one that removed this parasite from Ghost Rider and kind of freed him of that. Well, the one thing they forgot to do is do something with that parasite, and it has become a thing of unto itself. And that is when we get the creation of a new character called Exhaust.
Yep.
So what a great, for a Ghost Rider character, a character called Exhaust. And it makes sense because at one point it says, I'm Johnny Blaze, and also I'm not Johnny Blaze. It's the because there's a parasite that's attached to him. It comes off, and now it's the fumes of Johnny Blaze after he's left. It's what he leaves behind, and this is a really wickedly cool looking character that we were talking about it before. The Ghost Rider, he's got his enemies, but I feel like he didn't have one that was like this. That was almost like a Venom to his Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of the elements about him and is kind of a twisted, corrupted version of that. So, first appearance of a new character, and I think this character, looking at the design, kind of its motivations, everything, is a really strong new
Yeah,
character.
this will disappear. This will disappear off the shelves once people
Yes.
hear about Exhaust and see. Like if you see one picture, you're gonna
Yeah,
want
you
it.
see one picture and you're like, okay, he kind of looks like he could be on the cover of like a metal album, like a Motorhead album or Iron Maiden or something. Like, he's a really cool looking
He's
character.
like a zombified Mad Max Road
Yes.
Warrior villain.
So, all that to say, definitely pick up this issue. Not only for the first appearance, it's a great issue, and it's been a phenomenal series so far. We've got some variants for it. This is the Wolf variant, which it's really cool. I'm glad I could see this one in person because in those flames, or other little skull faces and everything, but it also kind of looks like he's taking a bath in like Kraft macaroni and cheese. That color is
I wouldn't
perfect.
say no.
And then we have the not Spider-Man variant, but this is the Andrews variant, which is an homage of Ultimate Spider-Man
Ultimate
#1.
Spider-Man, yeah.
So very cool, but it's just very odd to see that cover and then it said Ghost Rider at the top.
All right, so I read Wonder Woman 792. It says Cheetah Unleashed. The cover does represent what's inside of it a lot because in this issue, Wonder Woman is trying to break Cheetah out of a lab where they're testing on her, doing terrible things to her. But Cheetah is in just a feral rage. So you're trying to help this person, and this person wants to kill you and is has the means to at least hurt you very much. So that's generally what this is about. Also, this continues on. There's more in it with that milk extra, that milk that was in the last series, that the doctor was in charge of, and that has bad stuff in it. There's more on that. And lastly, this wraps up this little 2-issue storyline, but it begins a new storyline, and it looks like Superman is going to be in Wonder Woman with a new plot line starting next issue. It's sort of, one of those last page, he's there and he has some big news. You'll have to read it for yourself to see what's going on there. So that's what's going on in Wonder Woman issue number 792. And then here is the Joelle Jones variant of that.
She just got her in a headlock.
Yeah, Cheetah does end up in a new position. She actually kind of joins a new group by the end of this.
Huh.
So
That's
I'll
pretty
mention
cool.
that as well.
Okay, next up for me, I've got Amazing Spider-Man #11. So we've seen this cover for a while, and it says, "The Return of the Hobgoblin, but which one?" And that's kind of the point of this issue.
Yeah, very strange looking. That's such a different look for Hobgoblin the
Yeah.
face.
So Romita Jr. is back doing art for this one, and this continues kind of the stuff that's been going on with Peter and Black Cat. Their kind of little flirty relationship that's going on, but it's mostly about Norman Osborn and this new Hobgoblin and who it might be. It kind of drops some clues here and there. I feel like most people will probably figure it out by the end of it. At least you'll figure out who they want you to think it is. It could be a big bait and switch, but there's an idea at the end of it who it is. But is this a first appearance of a new Hobgoblin? At least he looks like the classic Hobgoblin. His suit looks the same and everything. But if there's somebody different under the mask, then it'll be a new Hobgoblin. So we'll wait and see if this is a first appearance of a new Hobgoblin or not. But this is our A cover. We have this Gomez variant showing off his new suit, and this Gleason Miracle Man cover.
Okay, so I read All Out Avengers #2. This, of course, is the new ongoing Avengers series that's supposed to be sort of non-stop, fast-paced, and yes, it is. So check out the cover. You have Doctor Doom wielding Mjolnir and Captain America's shield. This does happen in this issue.
Wow.
Now, how does this happen? I'll tell you how it happens, because it doesn't reveal everything. Basically, Doctor Doom was hit by this like soul-splitting device, and it took all the evil out of him. And so the main villain in this is just sort of the ultra evil Doctor Doom, who is called Dark Doom. Iron Man sort of names him. So Dark Doom is the main villain in this issue. So first appearance of Dark Doom, just an all evil Doctor Doom. Well, what's that leave when you take all the evil out of Victor Von Doom? It actually leaves a pretty nice guy who apparently is worthy. So he leads the remaining Avengers to try to fight his ultimate evil side, and you just have to see how that all goes. It does get generally resolved by the end of it. I mean, that's what this comic is. It is just like you're just slung into action, and it's just wall to wall things going on, action, and that's what they meant for it. So if you're looking for that in an Avengers title, here it is. We got some variants I'd like to show you though. Here is the Stegman variant. Here is the Peach Momoko variant. And lastly, here is the NetEase game variant.
Okay, and I believe this is the last one for me. It is Wolverine number 25. So this one is mostly to inform you about this issue because it does say that it is a landmark issue. It's a anniversary issue. I think it's extra sized. Um, it is. It begins. It's a tie-in issue with Axe. So you have Wolverine and some other characters in the Arctic. So that is continuing what's been going on in the main Wolverine series. And then there is a backup story um, that is. It's not like how a lot of anniversary issues are really long and you get a bunch of backup stories. There's one, and it goes through different artists who have worked on this series. So this is less of. This is more of a celebration of 25 issues of this run. It's not like a big like, oh, Wolverine through history or anything like this. This is more if you've been reading this series, you'll really appreciate this. I don't necessarily think if you haven't been reading it, you come in and be like, oh yeah, all the Wolverine. This is mostly meant for those who have been on for 25 issues, know these characters in particular that they're using, and all of that. But there is a lot of cool art in this one, as well as that Axe tie-in if you're following all of those. So that's Wolverine 25. We've got the variants for this. The Miracle Man variant. We've got the Chrissy Zulo variant. We've got the David Nakayama variant. And we've got the Perio 1 in 25 variant that we're selling to our customers for $20.
Well, somehow I ended up with more to read than you, so I'm going to go through my last three pretty quickly. So I read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 133. This, of course, is an Armageddon game tie-in. That cover is awesome. I hate to report it does not happen in this yet. This is definitely like a teasing where this is going, though, with some evil turtles that I keep talking about. Who, I think this is a lot of the rat catcher's plan. Rat King's plan. And instead, in this is a lot about the other characters. What are they up to? Like, for instance, you get to see Venus. What's Venus been doing? And Venus actually gets an upgrade, possibly a missing limb.
Oh, fun.
Is able to come back this issue. You'll have to see how that goes. And it does get back to where the last one ended, where the mayor's press conference is being interrupted by these Ninja Turtles who attack. But it does not end up where the regular turtles fight the evil turtles. I still think the evil turtles are going to be a lot of the plan because public opinion is turning against the turtles.
Oh no!
I mean, when it seems like you've attacked the Mariners press conference, that's going to happen.
They have like black bandanas or something like that.
It was hard to tell. They're kind of like in the shadows.
Okay, yeah.
So here is the Eastman variant, where that character is in it a lot, annoying Donatello. So this does not exactly happen, but she definitely annoys Donatello in this. And then there's a 1 in 10 Robson variant we're selling for $10. Then I also read Fantastic Four issue number 48 with an Axe tie-in. It does have a first appearance. It has a first appearance of a new villain character named Space Boy. Yeah, I
Does not
know.
sound like a villain.
I don't know where they got the name exactly. He has an interesting character design. His powers are interesting too. Now, last issue left off that the Baxter building was being attacked by Ooblet, who was after all of Reed Richards' knowledge. Okay, like, this is all during Acts, and because the progenitor is judging people, Ooblet's using it as a way to, kind of get in there when the rest of Fantastic Four are busy. And so it definitely is Invisible Woman up against her and her forces. Well, Ooblet has this character she just kind of brings out of nowhere. She's like, "Oh, I have this space boy. He's here to beat you down." Wait till you see his powers. It's really cool though because Invisible Woman, she's just this all just shows off that she's tough. She's been through it. These people, they think they can beat her down. It's not that easy. Sue Storm is very resourceful and tough and smart. But this does end that little plot arc by the end of this issue, with Ooblet possibly learning something about herself. This also has a Buckingham variant that did not arrive, just like with the Black Panther variant. So I also think it is probably a week delayed. And then lastly, I read Captain Marvel issue number 42, which is also an Axe tie-in. This one's easy to explain because so the progenitor, he is judging everyone. That's sort of his thing. That's the whole Axe thing. Well, in this, you get to see as he judges Carol, but you also get to see as he judges Chewie the cat. In fact, about half the issue is you follow Chewie as Chewie is looking over and there's somebody doing this, and Chewie starts doing something and it's like, no, and then it just says, no,
That's pretty funny.
So by the end of the issue, both get judged. You'll have to read it to see if they make the judgment good or bad. Here is the Girahuru Landshark variant. And here is the McKelvey Miracle Man variant.
I was going to ask, is that the final issue of Fantastic Four of this run?
I don't believe so.
Because I know we just talked about the new #1 on Comics from the Future, so we may have one more issue.
Really? I think they'd take it to 50, wouldn't they?
You would think they would take it to 50, but in a month we're going to be getting a new #1.
Wow,
so
maybe you're right. Maybe it is the last one.
it's very odd.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us on our day early comic review show. We just went over 26 comics, their variants, the incentives. If we have been helpful to you, please hit subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, as we are trekking up towards 2K subscribers. We're somewhere around like 1,920.
Yeah.
80 to go or so. But we're going to make it. And we will be back on Friday with Comics from the Future. So thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.